Heads up, this video openly discusses spoilers for Avowed and Pillars of Eternity 1, including companion quests, late-game plot revelations, and the multiple endings. If you haven't finished the game yet, this video will spoil things for you.
What Avowed is doing under the surface, in conversation with Pillars of Eternity and even the Elder Scrolls game, well, it's a masterful inversion of what we expect from typical first-person RPGs. I mean, sure, you're still playing a role, but you're just a pawn in the larger game that Obsidian is playing with you. And I think most people are missing the point. The opening of Avowed introduces the main character as the Envoy, a bureaucrat raised in the Aedyran Empire. You, as a prominent courtier, are sent to the Living Lands, a burgeoning frontier, to discover the source of a mysterious plague called the Dream Scourge. You can choose some pretty basic background details, were you a war hero or a court mystic, but this is the scenario. You are a high-ranking messenger in personal service to the Emperor of Aedyr. You are the messenger boy that everyone wants to shoot.
His Majesty names you a loyal servant of the Aedyran Empire, and an extension of the throne's authority.
As the envoy, you are the voice of the Emperor, who rules over a colonial power actively doing a colonialism. A dangerous disease is infecting the very souls of the inhabitants of the Living Lands, but more importantly, this scary disease means your nation's attempt at doing a colonialism, when the economy very, very much needs it, is headed towards disaster. You must cure the disease so the Living Lands can become an attractive fiefdom of Aedyr and enrich the nation.
Soldiers bearing the flag of Aedyr would be garrisoned in every town. They would be paid in Aedyran shelling and speak only the Aedyran language. Our customs would become their customs. Our emperor would become their emperor.
The envoy is in the Living Lands for economic reasons, not humanitarian ones. A soul disease is affecting the bottom line. That's it. If your goal in playing Avowed is to toe the Empire's line and roleplay as a good little envoy, this game probably isn't for you. Many players have mentioned online that the game doesn't provide a very exciting or satisfying experience for those role-playing as Imperial lackeys. The game's writing, both in dialogue from your companions as well as people out in the world, makes siding with Aedyr the very clear, obvious evil option. And that's on purpose. But to understand why, first we need to talk about Empire, Aedyr, and, well, lore. At the top level, Aedyr pretty obviously sucks. It's an expansionist monarchy with a throne passed down through hereditary racial lines, sanctioned by Boudica, the very real in this world god of law, justice, and vengeance. A distinction that somehow doesn't stop Aedyr from keeping slaves. You also have religious persecution, scientific suppression, and a penchant to enforce their rule with violence. So, yeah, we're already off to a great start. This particular colonial endeavor in the Living Lands is actually the third attempt at colonialism Aedyr has undertaken. The first misadventure saw Aedyr sending a colonial contingent across the sea to the Eastern Reach. In the span of less than 50 years, they speedrun imperialism. You've got colonists plundering cultural ruins for artifacts that are then shipped back to the mainland for profit We have some war. There is enslaving the indigenous population, backstabbing, some more war, a slave revolt, and finally, the Deerwood colony declaring independence from Aedyr. Because all of this nonsense was just becoming a little too much for everyone involved.
Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help, help, I'm being repressed, bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh?
The second misadventure saw Aedyr doubling down on the Eastern Reach. But there was one problem. All this news of fighting in the colonies sure was making that trip a little less appealing to people. Not a problem, though. There just so happened to be a handful of Eothoasians, followers of Eothas, another one of the 12 gods, who were just absolutely yucking up the empire with their poverty. So, the emperor, in his infinite wisdom, packed him up, shipped him out. It was a real win-win in his book. That is, until a whole lot of bad stuff we simply do not have time to get into. Riadsaris formed their own independent nation, and Aedyr's second colony had failed. After decades of costly conflict, both domestically and abroad, Aedyr, once the world's largest military power, is feeling the economic and military strain of all of its colonial failures. Their ability to expand borders and crush rebellions with its military might, it still exists, though heavy losses in the Eastern Reach has put the country in a precarious place. By the time of Avowed, Aedyr has lost its most powerful nation status to Rauatai, a primarily naval power that has a history of doing their own colonialism in the Deadfire Archipelago. Aedyr needs a win, a big one. And this mystery soul disease in the living land, a new colonial opportunity, could spell doom for Aedyr. But hey, third time's the charm, right? The Living Lands is the continent you'll spend all of your time on in Avowed. It's made up of 4 main areas. There's Dawnshore, Emerald Stair, Shatterscarp, and Gallowayne's Tusk. Dawnshore is home to Paradise, a port town on the precipice of war between the residents and the newly arrived people of Aedyr. Emerald Stair is home to a conclave of animancers that provide much of the island's food. Shatterscarp is the rough and tumble frontier town founded by former Rauatai Navy and pirates. And then there's Gallowayne's Tusk, the home to a reclusive order of dwarves protecting something. I bet you're seeing a good setup for some conflict right about now, though, huh?
Ambassador Falchion Heelguard at your service.
Ambassador Heelguard, the Aedyran ambassador, is stationed in Paradise, and he's doing his best to smooth over tensions with the sitting Lord of Paradise.
That's the claviger. What happened?
But his job is made harder by the Steel Garrote, an order of knight zealots and the special forces, I guess, of Aedyr. The problem is, the Garrote doesn't serve the crown, they serve Wodika, who seems to be working in the best interest of the crown, whether Aedyr knows it or not. Ambassador Heelguard is a diplomat trying to increase Aedyr's colonial power through aggressive trade and diplomacy.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
Inquisitor Ludwin, leader of the Steel Garrote and spooky fire-eyed Night Lady, serves Wodika with fervor, murdering rebels, killing animancers, and erasing the native culture of the Living Lands with fire, specifically.
She is going to be a problem.
They are the Aedyran carrot and stick. This is the tension you enter in Avowed. As you arrive in Paradise, fresh from a shipwreck, and run in with Dream Scourge-affected Aedyrans, you meet Kai, one of 4 companions that you'll play with throughout the game.
Name's Kai. I've been a soldier, a sailor, and a halfway decent baritone.
And he's been around quite a bit. He's a former sailor in the Rauatai Navy who has landed in the Living Lands, like most people, to start a new life in the frontier. He doesn't hate Aedyr outright, he's just not a real big fan of them busting their way into town and messing up a good thing.
The Empire doesn't have many friends on these shores.
Hey, not with that attitude.
Through Kai and the other 3 companions, as you gain them, you'll start to learn about the living lands from the people who live there now. And through the god in your head, you'll learn about the people who were here before. And guess what? Past, present, and future, they sure do all hate Aedyr's guts.
Well, well. If it isn't the new arrival. So eager to make a name for himself. Me and Pod, we aren't so fond of Outlanders.
The people of the Living Lands know that Aedyr is an imperialistic power hell-bent on subjugation for the good of Empire. They know that animancy is outlawed and punished by death, and that slave ownership is still allowed in most places. They know of the recent events in the Dyrwood we just talked about, where Aedyr desecrated ancient tombs for political gain, and then were ultimately ousted. We, as players, may be new to this world, but the characters that we interact with are not. There is a history here, something the game will explore for its entire 80-plus hour runtime.
Something about a labor dispute gone wrong, I think. The Steel Garrote got involved, and it turned quite ugly.
A lot of disputes arise because people here have a strong aversion to being told what to do.
Avowed doesn't position the player choosing what the law-abiding and patriotic Aedyran would do as a positive choice because, well, it isn't. Aedyr is not a good place, or at least the policies of Aedyr through the Emperor and Woedica are not morally good. A lot of people are killed, hurt, and displaced because of Aedyr, a theme that is made explicit everywhere that you go.
Your home, the Aedyran Empire, is treasured by Woedica, Our Lady of Law and Vengeance, the burned queen. But our goddess has lately turned her eyes from us, and our empire has suffered revolts, famines, challenges to rightful rule. We lack a common purpose, but we could find it in the living lands, a rich and lawless island settled by fugitives, wanderers, exiles, and us.
Functionally, in the game, you'll travel to a location, you'll fill out your quest log, and then end your time in each zone, making a pivotal choice that, in a massively reductive kind of way, nets out to be either for or against Aedyr's interests. With settlements inhabited by animancers, the outlawed science, Rauatai pirates, the expats of a rival nation, and secluded dwarves who are ripe for trade exploitation, each region is poised to be an opportunity to grow or shrink imperial power. Even the main plot of dealing with the Dream Scourge disease and the god talking to you in your head has explicit pro and Aedyr consequences. You'll need to weigh these options back and forth and make a choice. For each major choice, you can ask your companions, which consists of Kai, the Rauatai frontiersman from Shatterscarp and Paradise. There's Marius, a exiled dwarf tracker from Galawain's Tusks, Giada, an animancer, and Yatsley, a wizard and scholar of the ancient people, the Godless, and they're both from Emerald Stair. You are the sole voice of Aedyr, your pro-Empire choices oscillating between the Aedyran angel and devil on your shoulder of Ambassador Hilgard and Inquisitor Ludwin. Each choice boils down to, do you support the people of the living lands and their desire to self-actualize? Do you forward the goals of Aedyran diplomacy? Do you burn the heretics and the horse they rode in on? Or do you try to find that magical third way that appeases almost everyone? Each pro-Empire choice you make will be met by confusion or derision by your companions and the people of the living lands at large.
I thought you were different from your kinsmen, but it seems I misjudged you.
whether diplomatic or violent. Each companion will end up giving you a different flavor of, I thought you were a really cool dude, or how could you possibly side with those jackbooted oppressors who just want to, destroy these humble farmers who only wanted their own little conclave to practice their weird science in peace and quiet. Or something like that.
You're a rat-fuck bastard, Envoy.
The game's writing isn't subtle, and it clearly has an opinion, which I think is the unspoken frustration a lot of people have with the game. As players, we've been trained for decades on how these games work, that we can choose a side and the game will bend over backwards to make it seem like that's the right choice.
This is the world as it could have been, devoid of color, devoid of life. It is thanks to you that it isn't so, and you did it without becoming a tyrant. The people love you, and you have banished the shadow of your brother's reign. You kept your promise to Sabine and his people, when it would have been easier to turn your back on them, a noble gesture. And you ruled as strong leaders should. It is not everyone who understands the necessity of making sacrifices. It is what fate requires of us. You were brave to break your promise to Sabine and his people, but it is through such decisions that wars are won and lost.
The good and evil choices are easy to spot, but Avowed adds a new wrinkle. You're not some nobody prisoner riding to your execution. You're an important diplomat, one that is assumed is highly invested in the success of Aedyr. But if that's true, why do all the pro-Empire choices read as evil, even if from the perspective of the character, it's not? Well, that's not really a question about Avowed. That's a question about art. Avowed, for all of its branching choices, bespoke outcomes, and chosen one narrative structures, it's not about the Envoy. It's all a lie. You spend hours hacking at enemies and completing quests brick by brick, building a massive facade whose sole purpose is to reveal to you the consequences of Empire. Both visually and thematically, Avowed is a surrealist distortion of the reality you expect. Each blatant binary video game choice begging you to get the point, begging for you to look behind the curtain. It's all fake, but how you do or do not accept that reality is the point. Many times while playing Avowed, I'd think of the Treachery of Images, a 1928 painting by René Magritte. It's an image of a pipe, and written beneath it in French is the text, "This is not a pipe." You've seen this image before. Of the image, Magritte says, "The famous pipe. How people reproached me for it, and yet, could you stuff my pipe? No. It's just a representation, is it not? So if I had written on my picture, 'This is a pipe,' I'd have been lying." Magritte's painting is probably so familiar to you because of how blatant it is. It's an M.C. Escher-esque optical illusion, but for your brain. It's a distillation of the tension between reality and artifice. The painting isn't a pipe, it's a depiction of one. It's a tongue twister for your mind. Each thought you have contradicted by the very work you critique. I mean, are those even words, or just painted shapes that represent the forms of words? And, well, you get it. The simplicity of the piece, a bare image and a line of text, is the point. The complexity of the image doesn't come from the image itself, but from what it subconsciously makes you think. Whether you accept the pipe as a pipe or not means something about how you view art. You expect a picture, not an existential treatise. It's pretentious, it's clever, it's simple, but it's not a pipe. And as Magritte's background would suggest, it's also a perfect advertisement for surrealism. Magritte's art, like all art, is a reflection of the artist's context. Magritte worked in theaters and advertising before ever being known for his artwork. He spent years practicing mainstream art styles and learning the fundamental techniques. And then he grew bored of them. The treachery of images is informed by the art of the past, the radicalness of his contemporaries, and the varied time and context that Magritte lived in. Magritte's painting is also a reflection on all art. The Surrealist painter is intentionally prodding at the more traditionalist artists around him, exposing the obvious but often disregarded thing we all know. All of this is fake. The meaning we derive from a work of art is itself a reflection of ourselves. We experience the art, we digest it through our own minds, and then we interpret that artwork through our own lens, often imbuing it with power outside of the original artist's intent, or extrapolating well beyond the frame. I mean, I'm doing it right now. I'm talking about a 2025 video game in relation to a 1928 Surrealist painting. Michel Foucault, historian, philosopher, author, critic, and general prominent thinker of the 20th century, wrote a charming essay in 1973 about Magritte's Treachery of Images. He winds a 6-chapter dissection of the painting and kind of encompasses Magritte's many transgressions against traditional painting. Foucault lays out 2 principles that he believes ruled Western painting from the 15th century to the 20th century. I think they're also great principles to hold Avowed up to as well. The first asserts the separation between plastic representation, which implies resemblance, and linguistic references, which excludes it. Either the text is ruled by the image, or the image is ruled by the text. An order always hierarchizes them, running from figure to discourse, or from discourse to figure. We can extrapolate Foucault's first principle into games as well. Traditionally, the visual rules text in vast open world games. We believe that open, expansive spaces allow for open, expansive choice structures. The hidden caves, the well-manicured wilderness, and the infinite ways to approach an encounter tells us as players that in all forms, there are many ways to achieve your goal. You see that mountain, you can go to it. You see that NPC, you can kill them. We believe open world games are playgrounds to be bent to our will. The narrative, textual parts serve to validate our choices and provide reason to explore the vastness around us. The inverse is often true as well. Narrative-heavy games or quest sections in expansive games are narrower. They're constraining a player to corridors or dungeons and arenas with discrete beginnings and ends. In these places, the text of the story rules the visuals, funneling you through the path, each discovery measured or accounted for, leading to a predestined conclusion. We've been conditioned to understand when a game is led by its visuals or by its text. We still test these boundaries, of course, because very rarely our expectations are subverted. Our assumption that this game is visually or texturally led simply because it resembles previous ones could very well be wrong. The second principle that long ruled painting posits an equivalence between the fact of resemblance and the affirmation of a representative bond. Let a figure resemble an object, and that alone is enough for there to slip into the painting a statement: what you see is that. Here, Foucault is arguing that it is taken as fact that when you see a painting, you are seeing a representation of something. On a canvas, our brain sees a pipe and says, ah yes, a pipe. We inherently know what we see is just a painting, but we suspend our disbelief because we and the piece want us to. We accept that what has been depicted on the painting is that thing. The landscape is being depicted as it exists. This painting of a pipe is a depiction of a real pipe in real space. Again, we can see this in gameplay mechanics. Hand a character a gun, and we know the game is a shooter. Provide an attack menu with skills and items and a magic menu, and this turn-based game is about defeating foes in battle. And in choice-based RPGs, choosing the red option in dialogue is evil, simply because the game says so. And yet, the things that surprise and delight us the most are games that break this mold. Hand a character a gun, and it's a puzzle game. Provide an attack menu with skills and items and magic, and this turn-based game is about empathy and compassion. In choice-based RPGs, choosing the red option is the only one where the hero achieves complete victory. At release, Avowed was heavily compared to Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, a 2007 open-world RPG that has you playing as the Chosen One, exercising the dead Imperial Emperor's will. Avowed resembles Oblivion, but it's actually a mere distortion of this 20-year-old game. It's a reflection that's made even more stark with the recently remastered Oblivion that updates graphics to further resemble Avowed. In Oblivion, you begin the game as a nobody prisoner in the very cell hiding the Emperor's secret escape tunnel. Your first conversation is with the Emperor of Cyrodiil through the grates of your cell, where he tells you that your past life is irrelevant.
Perhaps the gods have placed you here so that we may meet. As for what you have done, it does not matter. That is not what you will be remembered for.
The only thing you need bring forward from this moment is the star sign you were born under and your physical appearance. The Emperor pardons you of any crimes simply because he saw you in a dream.
You? I've seen you. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams.
In the game's intro, Uriel
Septim
explains that in all his 87 years, he's never been the ruler of my own dreams.
For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, in darkness, a doom sweeps the land.
In Avowed, you are the Emperor's chosen envoy, a powerful courtesan whose past means everything to the game. Your chosen background, your godlike nature, and your Aedyran citizenship will constantly come up in conversation, both in dialogue and the actions you can take. Your mission begins by visiting the Emperor in a cutscene and learning of his dream scourge, a deadly disease infecting the souls of those in the living lands.
Its foul tendrils reach towards us to lash out at the Empire itself. I command you, go to the living lands, find the roots, and if necessary, sever them. You are my envoy. Remember your vow. The hopes of an empire rest upon you.
It's not fire and brimstone, it's mushrooms and greenery. It's not war with a clever trickster god, it's the feeble scrabbling of an infant one. On Avowed's opening island, a tropical open expanse compared to Oblivion's narrow sewers, the first NPC you run into is Alora, a captured smuggler locked behind bars in an abandoned redoubt. When the Dream Scourge swept through Aedyr's fortress, the very fortress that in their Dream Scourge-addled haze fired upon you in the opening cutscene and sunk your ship, the soldiers fought each other and died, all while Aedyr watched, trapped behind bars with no way out.
It's a bloodbath. They've torn the place apart from the inside. Did they? Were they fighting each other? Envoy, I don't like this.
You are the Imperial figure now, wreathed with the power and ability to save this woman, even though she disdains all you stand for.
Shite! I should have known you were Aedyrans too. Funny you survived while all your friends here went belly up.
Avowed's tutorial island resembles our expectations for a tutorial zone. We know how games function, and we let that innate sense override the graphical expanse of the island. The textual follow the path moments overcome the graphical drive to explore. We assume that the level is a locked-off playground, designed to teach us how the game works, a place where consequences are compartmentalized. We let the linear narrative guide us forward, leading us from one end of the dungeon to the other, expecting that this walled-off zone will open up into a grander graphical world with grander quests to explore. The tutorial island is separate from the rest of the game, an experience unto itself, clearly delineating the difference of graphic and text. What resembles a simple narrative choice, release or abandon Aedyr the Smuggler, is a tutorial of far grander magnitude though. If you abandon Aedyr, a decision encouraged and supported by your card-carrying Aedyrian companion,
Envoy, I've tangled with Paradisian smugglers before. She'd say just about anything to get out of that cell. Her story's full of holes. What if the boat's not there? What if she turns on us? Paradisians will knife you in the back over a dirty look. What if she murdered that soldier and she's just trying to cover it up?
She will find a way to escape, and then she will ambush you in the final battle of the tutorial section.
I'm crafty. Craftier than you Aedyrans gave me credit for.
Oh, that's the stuff!
But if you save her, Aedyr will become a short-term companion,
Now you've done it!
lead you to her boat as a means off the island,
So, the smuggler wasn't lying.
My name's Alora, you know.
and 15 hours later will help you non-violently complete a quest. You'll only truly escape the shores of Tutorial Island after you've progressed a side quest several steps after multiple hours of gameplay.
A kind-hearted Aedyran. How nice for them to find a friend here. No deal. Pay the difference, or forget it.
Soldis. The envoy saved my life at Northreach.
Fine. Tell your miserable countrymen the deal is settled. Free of charge. We'll take them to Thirdborn when they're ready.
Literally, don't mention it. Remember, I still don't know you.
And even then, that side quest will not fully conclude until you reach the third open world area, Shatterscarp, probably 50 hours into your playthrough.
Envoy, it's so good to see you alive and well. We've settled in nicely and are starting to feel at home here. The land here is unforgiving.
But we might have something to help with that. Right, love?
Whoever lived here last must have left this armor behind. As beautiful as it is, Gladwine and I have no need of it. We'd like for you to have it.
The great lesson you learn in Avowed's opening area isn't how to wield a sword or sling magic. It's that your actions, specifically your actions driven by nationalism, have consequences you could never expect. Even if you ignore Aedyr, neither outright condemning her to death nor releasing her, she will find a way to escape and will still ambush you.
That's the stuff!
The negligent conclusion yielding the same results as the evil one. Avowed in the first hour is quite explicit. There is no magical third way. Every choice has consequences.
Look, we don't have to like each other, but we can all get out alive.
Once you arrive in the Living Lands, you begin the game as the voice of the Emperor, the person with the most vested power on the continent. Oblivion's character arrives at the Imperial City still wearing manacles and rags. The envoy arrives in Paradis wearing finery. You are untouchable, the manifestation of imperial authority in a land plagued by surreal dreams of the beyond. Which is why it's so shocking when you're assassinated.
Envoy.
But just as the death of Uriel
Septim
creates the bridge for Mehrunes Dagon to destroy, the death of the envoy creates a bridge for Sophodal to connect. But more on that in a bit. The opening of Avowed is, without all of this deep reading, a rather simple scenario. You're the hero, you overcome a few minor side quests, then land in the big city ready to solve the game's main narrative. Depending on how soon you enter the proper gates of Paradis, you may have over a dozen hours of fighting Zarips, bandits, or Dream Scourge-tainted soldiers before the truly surreal appears, when your mind is opened to the cosmic, when the body fades away and all that remains is your mind. The Treachery of Images is one of the most simplistic and illustrative examples of Surrealism, an art movement that started in the mid-1920s and includes household names like René Magritte, Salvador Dali, and Max Ernst. André Breton, a Parisian poet and writer, defines Surrealism in the 1924 Surrealist Manifesto as pure psychic automatism, by which one proposes to express, either verbally, in writing, or by any other manner, the real function of thought. Dictation of thought in the absence of all control exercised by reason, outside of all aesthetic and moral preoccupation. So instead of consciously pursuing artwork that reflects the artists or their interpretation of the world, Surrealists sought to create art that would reflect the essence of the human mind, freed from the shackles of consciousness. Every aspect of our psyche, a paintbrush. Many Surrealists have used automatic drawing or writing to unlock ideas and images from their unconscious minds. Others have wanted to depict dream worlds or hidden psychological tensions. These pieces are ethereal, dreamlike, and often nonsensical, but that was the point. Surrealists believed that these automatic methods allow them to manifest the kaleidoscopic refractions of the inner brain on the page or canvas. The movement's aspiration towards the liberation of the mind, as well as the liberation of artistic expressions, has also meant seeking political freedom. In many instances, these artists have turned to political activism. In this way, the revolutionary concepts encouraged by Surrealism has led the movement to be seen as a way of life. Magritte didn't use the automatic methods other Surrealists employed. Instead, he used his art to intentionally draw attention to our unconscious thought process. We see, as Foucault puts it, a resemblance and equate that to the thing it resembles, even though you couldn't pick up this pipe and smoke it. Instead of seeking liberation of his own mind, Magritte is asking you, as the observer, to understand his message, sit in his surreal lecture hall, and free your own mind, to see the truth of existence apart from the truth of resemblance. Surrealist artists have drawn inspiration from mysticism, ancient cultures, and indigenous art and knowledges as a way of imagining alternate realities. The problems you're solving in Avowed, the economic, the humanitarian, and the religious, they all sprout from the same root, the Dream Scourge, the surreal, automatic manifestation of Sophodal, a long-dormant god. When you first connect to Sophodal after your death, you meet them in the beyond, Avowed's purgatory-like liminal space of pure thought. Sapodal speaks to you in lyrical prose that reads more like spoken word impromptu poetry than scripted language from your typical quest giver.
An arrow broke the skin. It carried poison to your veins. A festering blot of corruption spread through the root and sap. It stilled your heart. It silenced the song in your mind.
Their speech is hard to follow, and their aims even more so, but through this first meeting and subsequent ones in your dreams, you learn that the Dream Scourge isn't being controlled or targeted. It's functioning more like an overly aggressive immune system. It's indiscriminately attacking everything in hopes of removing the Woedican cancer. It is, you learn later, Sapodal's automatic fear response to Woedica's presence.
A rat scrabbling in the dust, crawling back to the same ruined trash heap.
No, we know this voice, this presence, sneering at us through our prison bars.
I culled your rot from this land before. I will do it again.
The Dream Scourge is a plague of the soul, a disease that infects plants, animals, and people, manifesting as waking dreams. In humans, the disease works quickly, first manifesting as confusion and hallucinations, and then as the disease worsens, the victims fall into a trance-like state, living in a waking nightmare. Ultimately, their body will sprout mushrooms and coral-like plant growths, and then they lose themselves completely, becoming dream thralls. Surprisingly, this isn't actually the first time a disease of the soul has ravaged the lands of Yora.
If it is a watcher you seek, then a watcher you have found.
In Pillars of Eternity 1, you play as a watcher, a person who is able to see and interact with the souls of others, understand their past lives, and provide some measure of peace for lingering ailments. The soul remembers, somewhere deep down, vestiges of their past lives. So the weight of being a serial killer in a past life can weigh down the next.
I was a wicked person in my last life. Evil to the core. So many dead. What do I do, though? Find the descendants of those... I can't even say it. Look, I just want to go back home. To the farm. How can I possibly face anyone now? Knowing what I know. I keep telling myself that that person, that murderer isn't me, but they were.
As a watcher, it's your role to look into the soul maladies, and in the first Pillars of Eternity game, you deal with the largest one yet. For 15 years, children in the former Aedyr-controlled Dyrwood were born without souls. The children could not take care of themselves, nor accept nourishment from others. They were alive, but hollow, eventually dying in their cribs. In the Pillars of Eternity universe, a soul is the self and the automatic self. All functions cease without one. You cannot eat, you can't move, speak, or think. In death, the soul transits to the beyond. It spins around the wheel and then lands back on Yora to inhabit another body. Life and death have meaning, but soulless death is meaningless. Remember though, a soul has power beyond the self. The soul is, its essence, is energy that can be harnessed and used by skilled scientists. And so it was with the Hollowborn crisis. At the conclusion of Pillars of Eternity, the Watcher discovers the source of this entire problem. Grand Master Arcanine, a pawn of Woedica, has been siphoning these souls into the massive machinery in Sun and Shadow for 15 years. But it's not the first time that Arcanine has siphoned souls to Sun and Shadow. He's done it over 2 millennia ago, when he and his ancient Animancer brethren created Woedica and the other 11 gods worshipped in the games.
the power of the gods is undeniable, the truth of the story they weave is not.
After centuries of advancement in animancy, Arcanine and a small cohort of Engwithan, ancient Glanfathan, for those of you paying attention, scientists turn their eyes to the cosmos, hoping to find the true gods among the stars to halt all of this religious infighting going on in their culture.
In their time, every people worshipped its own gods. Sometimes they warred over it. After a few wars of their own, the Engwithans sought an end to it. They devoted all their energy to finding the true creators. Generation after generation, they prodded and worked the stitching of the world and unlocked its secrets. One day, they found an answer. Except the answer was no answer at all. There were no gods to be found. Or if there ever were, they were gone.
But they found nothing, no sign or remnant of divinity among the cosmos. So they sought a new conclusion to the fighting. If there were no gods, well, they said, then we shall make them.
The gods aren't real. They were conceived by Engwith, a society of high minds and broad concerns. Engwith built gods from ideals, and an ideal on its own is a grotesque and vicious thing.
When the Watcher visits Sun and Shadow, the Engwithan capital city, they find vast ritual chambers where the 12 gods were formed.
You come out in the room you are standing in now, but it is new and pristine and filled with people, thousands of them, all turned towards the great Aedyr pillar and the machine that encases it. Theo stands at the machine and you are one with him now. You look out at the crowd, at faces of shriveled old men and cherub-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands, and watching you with somber acceptance. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it and place your hands upon a large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column and speak a single word. Giant rings creak to life, building speed, setting arrays of carved draconic mouths aglow, and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. Brilliant tendrils of light arc outward from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulder to see them engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly, like hot iron. One by one the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen effigies where people once stood, many of them disintegrating into gray heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above to the Aedyr pillar, and a glowing spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous like some immense chrysalis, suspended in slow rotation, as though it were being spun from the arcs of light. When the last arc disappears, the spectral mass hangs a moment, no longer rotating, so bright you must shield your eyes with an outstretched hand, and it seems to you as though it is looking at you.
Each god's purpose was formed from the thousands of souls they consumed, past lives just forming and shaping each deity. And then Arcanine did the rest. He built the gods from virtues, shaping them to fit what he determined to be the ideal Engwithan life. You learn that the very gods beloved and feared by the people of Eora for thousands of years are manufactured ideals created to shape and expand empire, to end religious conflict and shackle the world to a singular faith. The souls of an entire nation were violently, forcefully made manifest into 12 kaleidoscopic refractions of one man's mind.
And with their mastery, they crafted their own gods to fill the void, and sent missionaries to the corners of the world to spread their faith.
This is horror. The needs, wants, and personhood of thousands were maliciously removed and molded into the mechanisms of the state to be weaponized against the people of the world.
The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it.
This is also a winnowing, the creation of a homogeneous monoculture spawned from thousands of living, thinking beings. It's the death of free expression, the antithesis of that surrealist urge to make something, anything, from the unconscious mind.
All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our God's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark.
And yet, Arcanon's great work merely resembles God's. But the truth of their origins exposes something else entirely. These are not gods, they're godlike. There's a word I've said only twice now throughout this essay that is so intrinsic to Avowed that if you had played the game, you'd have been screaming at the screen for a while now. Godlike. Your envoy, besides being the chosen voice of Aedyr's empire, besides a war hero or court augur, you are most importantly godlike. Somehow your soul has been touched by one of the gods, physical manifestations on your body outwardly marking you as a godlike.
A godlike soul sings together with the god that has claimed them, made them their own. It gives them power.
Each of the 12 deities touch the soul of the common people. Their godlikes become semi-immortal preachers with a direct line upstairs, solving problems and sharing the gospel of Wodica, Barath, and the rest. The godlike are the eyes and ears of the gods in their domain, both enforcing their will and spreading tales of their power. You gotta keep the population in line after all. Remember though, these gods are manufactured by Arcanon and the Engwithin to religiously subjugate the people of Eora. In this way, most godlikes are just further instruments of the state. Your envoy, however, is an outlier. In character creation, you can choose from one of many godlike attributes. Mushrooms for hair, tree bark covering your eyes, or coral-like growths beneath your ears. These attributes immediately make it clear that you are a godlike, but whose is the third grand mystery of Avowed?
We know that a god touched you at birth, but which one and why? They always signed their work, and none of them lay claim to you.
Each god has a visual language. Barath's godlikes have golden skin and pearlescent eyes. Wodica's have, well, you can probably guess. You don't match anyone's description, though. Even in a globe-spanning, homogeneous empire, even in a world where the godlikes have a uniform signifier, you, as the envoy, are an outsider. No matter how much purple you wear or how hard you toe that national line, you from birth are singular. You'll always be different. When you were killed walking through the gates of Paradise, your soul is sent to the beyond, the purgatory of this world. In the distance, you see a seated figure, moss, branches, and bark flowing organically across their body. The voices you heard earlier, near Pillars of Aedyr, now speaks directly to you, starting a dialogue that will last for the remainder of the game.
You who bring us kind words and soothing thoughts, we welcome you.
This is Sapadal, the god you are a godlike of. Your soul is entangled with Sapadal's essence, the essence of all who have died in the living lands. In the divine debate of nature versus nurture, Sapadal is the raw, unbridled nature to the 12's manufactured nurture. And as that debate is usually referenced to, Sapadal is an infant, speaking in lyrical, confusing speech.
We were theirs and they were ours, and we told them to protect the wild and the green.
Prodding at you in your dreams, learning by watching you solve problems throughout the living lands, and asking that oh so incessant toddler question, why?
They hurt you, but we do not hear rage hissing in you like a serpent. Why?
Soppadal is core to that nagging question I flagged earlier. Why do all these pro-Empire choices read as evil, even if from the perspective of your player character, it's not? Just as the other 12 gods were manufactured from sacrificed souls, Soppadal was organically grown from the deaths of thousands as well. Instead of being forcefully harvested from people, though, Soppadal grew from the souls of natural death, occurring over millennia. There was no Arcanon to shape and mold Soppadal in their infancy, though, so they grew, learning from the people who settled in the living lands, always watching.
We woke, and we wanted nothing but connection.
It's not until you, their only godlike, arrive, is Soppadal able to speak to a person, to ask questions about the actions and the motivations behind them. And so your true quest in Avowed, one that solves the Dream Scourge, that deals with colonialism and answers the questions of your life and death, is becoming a nurturing parent to a powerful amalgam of pure automatic thought. And Soppadal is a being of pure thought. Their only appearances on screen being in the Beyond, your dreams, or when you visit their metaphysical prison, the Garden, in the final act of the game, where Boudica can inhabit her abandoned war machines, or Inquisitor Ludwin, Soppadal's touch is lighter and more erratic, influencing nature through powerful emotion instead of assuming direct control.
I am assuming direct control.
You'll find Soppadal's emotions throughout the game. The Dream Scourge is the outward manifestation of their fear of Boudica coming back to the living lands. Giant barbed thickets crisscross the living lands, exploding in moments of anger, receding in times of calm.
I assume it is this god we have to thank for the roots tearing apart Paradise?
And you'll find the decaying ruins of a people referred to as the Godless, ancient worshippers of Soppadal that were quite literally loved to death by an infant deity.
We cannot risk you provoking the Gardener and causing another calamity.
We were theirs, and they were ours, and we told them to protect the wild and the green. In return, we promised to protect them, and we were true. Always. We protected them. We did not want them to die. We loved them. We tried. We loved them so much. We did not cause pain. The spirits lie. We love them most. They twist our words.
As you explore the world of Avowed, you'll find a few special locations, at the end of which is a hovering mote of brilliant light. Touch it, and you'll experience one of Soppadal's remembrances, a particular intense moment in godless history. This memory is collaborative, though. Your envoy relives their soul's past lives as godless. As Soppadal narrates these stories, you begin to see the juxtaposition of their emotions and the consequences of them. A love so deep and vibrant that volcanoes erupt and drown a city. A warning yell so powerful that it shakes temples to the ground.
The cub cannot know its strength. The ground shakes. The thorns prick. A crack carves through the pillars. We did this. The sun rose on the barren earth. We had swallowed the village. Nothing but ruins remained.
Again, we're reminded by Foucault that there is no equivalence between the resemblance and representation.
We did not want them to die. We loved them. We tried. We loved them so much. We did not cause pain.
Swallowing a civilization of devout worshippers isn't the love we expect. Yet here we see Soppadal say just that. As Magritte said, only thought can resemble. It resembles by being what it sees, hears, or knows. It becomes what the world offers it. To be successful in Avowed, you'll probably need to camp often to replenish your supplies, upgrade your gear, and learn more about your squad. To leave camp, though, you have to sleep. Almost always inviting a dialogue on morality and ethics with Sopadal. Foucault, again, because it is in dream that men, at last reduced to silence, commune with the signification of things and allow themselves to be touched by enigmatic, insistent words that come from elsewhere. Each choice you make, small or large, will be a dream discussion. Spare the man who killed you? You'll spend a few minutes explaining the concept of mercy and forgiveness.
You have no thirst for vengeance, no righteous desire for justice. You're really letting us go. Thank you, Envoy. If our paths are meant to cross again, let it be in peace.
Free. The hair forgives. We learn. We twine. A killer freed. A predator returned to the woods. You bled and forgave. Why?
Kill your assassin, and teach Sopadal fear, vengeance, and a thirst for swift justice.
Come then. Prove to the gods that you're a worthy champion.
This one's mine.
A life for a life. A killer's blood billows in the drain, dead like the bear. Uproot, yes. This, perhaps this would have been our way.
You can guide Sopadal through godhood with compassion and kindness, giving space and time for their questions. You can be your best Arcanon and create a vengeful god of nature. Or you can simply ignore them, provide them nothing, and ignore their requests for clarification. Just like the Aedyr plot for colonialization, though, there really is no middle ground in the conversation with Sopadal. Compassion and kindness, blood and violence, or silence. And just like Alora the Smuggler, you can probably assume what silence will breed.
Now you've done it!
And that's because we know inherently as players that there is no room for nuance in talking to a toddler.
So small, so fragile. We did not mean to. We could not understand.
They don't understand it depends, nor do they understand the power of cultural virtues.
Listen to its tantrum. It knows neither order nor sense.
A toddler doesn't understand the intricacies of social graces, but they do know what feels right. And we see this in Avowed. We see how complicated things like empire, trade disputes, and cultural clashes can be perceived through the lens of a toddler.
The bee pollinates the blossom. One hand serves the next.
Boudica is, for all intents and purposes, the main villain. She embodies Inquisitor Lodwyn, the fire-eyed revenant that would give anyone nightmares, and is here in the Living Lands to kill Sopadal, a job she left unfinished millennia ago.
I culled your rot from this land before. I will do it again.
The god of law, justice, and vengeance seeks to carry out murder by any means necessary.
You can succeed where Ludwig failed. Face your false god and end its reign of terror permanently.
This is evil, full stop, and we know it is evil without needing to debate it. A toddler knows that this is evil. How you feel about letting Sopadal live may require some nuance to decipher, but killing Sopadal, well, there's no room for nuance there, is there?
We mourn our past. We only seek peace now. A chance to regrow. We trust you. You who have been by our side for so long. You met death, and you offered your hand. You taught us mercy. Always mercy. We saw how you would fight for those who could not. Give us peace. We want a chance to change. We deserve that opportunity.
The end of Avowed does something quite magical. It sticks the landing. Through the course of the game, you'll visit each region: Dawnshore, Emerald Stair, Shatterscarp, and Gallowayne's Tusk, making choices that will shape the ending. In Dawnshore, you'll track down your killer and decide their fate, along with the fate of the Paradis Rebellion. In Emerald Stair, you'll thwart the Steel Garrote's plan to set fire to Fior, the home of the Living Lands Animancers, or you let it happen, willingly or not, destroying the breadbasket of the Living Lands and an enclave of science. In Shatterscarp, you'll choose to destroy a giant godless ruin and let the Dream Scourge run rampant, or you siphon the soul essence from the inhabitants of the area to halt the spread of the Dream Scourge, killing many in the process. And in Gallowayne's Tusks, you'll decide the fate of the Pargrunan dwarves. Should their home remain secluded? Should they be destroyed to force them to leave? Or should they be given agency in this choice? Throughout each of these choices, the game rarely provides a good option, and even those that resemble a good choice rarely are. You're able to discover the Steel Garrote base planning the destruction of Fior early on.
Well, if it isn't the Aedyran envoy.
We weren't expecting reinforcements. Either you've come early, or more likely, you shouldn't be here.
But if you only tell the mayor, the former mayor's failson.
The Steel Garrote? Here? Thank you for the warning. At the moment, my forces are spread too thin to root out the camp. But we'll keep an eye on it.
Andras Debs. This was no accident.
The town still burns, doomed by his and your own inaction. This is what we in the business like to call a theme. Inaction in the face of an expansionist empire that consumes its people to fuel its lust for conquest is just as evil as actively working with them. Fior still burns, whether you hold the torch or not.
Exactly how many plates do you think I can spin? Your Inquisitor is determined to burn out anyone who doesn't conform to Aedyran ways.
The good ending of each quest is mostly up for your interpretation, though the bad option is always pretty obvious. Seek vengeance on your killer and rat out the priest hiding the rebels. Willfully burn Fior to the ground, destroy the godless ruin, and let the Dream Scourge run rampant. Kill the dwarf leader trying to get a trade deal with Aedyr, and burn the castle down. And let's not be coy, every choice you make in service of Aedyr, either diplomatically or violently, is the bad choice. Each choice leads up to the penultimate one, though. Do you allow Soppadal, a being of pure thought with untamed world-ending power, to be free of their shackles, or do you do Wodika's bidding, declaring that Soppadal is too dangerous to be free, killing them in their metaphysical prison?
Envoy, need I remind you why the Emperor sent you? To burn out a threat at any cost. To impose order where chaos reigns.
To make this choice, though, you and your team must enter Soppadal's prison, their primordial home that both exists in the real world and the metaphysical one. Across a sea of acid and through the very lava tubes that carried their destructive love is the garden, both an untamed land exploding with vegetation and a place ravaged by time. Godless ruins hover in the air, Soppadal's massive, sprawling vines snake across the landscape and into the sky. You'll also find vestiges of Wodika there too, towering automatons of metal and fire, sent here thousands of years ago to kill Soppadal. In Soppadal's realm, you'll also find the conclusion to each of your companions' quest lines. Nestled between twisting vines, Kai, Marius, Giada, and Yatzli will find moments of their past slipping in, but now that they're in the realm of pure thought, new context is provided.
What is the meaning of this? It can't be real. This is an illusion. A joke.
Giada Castell. Welcome.
No. This can't be. What exactly happened to my parents? Tell me, please. I need to know.
She reached out to us, using the tool you now carry.
But that would have been years ago. The first time she used the phantasmal focus. The only time she used it.
Sappadal wanted to be heard, and in so doing, twisted your family in body and soul, broke them into a more suitable shape.
Removed from the physical, each of the party members comes to realize that the devastating losses in their lives only resembled loss to them.
Did they not glow in the light? Her parents, her sentinels. To grow and flourish still, life without rot, form without death.
As players, we experience each companion's quest. We help them come to terms with loss, and then we gain a sufficient amount of experience points when we close out their side quest. We pursued the textual rewards. We sought to follow the defined story and check the checkboxes. And yet, Magritte returns. Between words and objects, one can create new relations and specify characteristics of language and objects ignored in everyday life. For example, Kai is burdened with guilt over abandoning a past leader.
I walked away, Envoy, and I kept walking. I used to think it would fade over time, but guilt's like a fine wine.
Tama's last moment manifests again for Kai in Sappadal's realm.
Isn't that Tama's cairn?
Tama's face is unrecognizable to Kai, constantly changing as he tries to focus on it.
His features keep blurring, changing. I know it's him, but I don't recognize him as the Tama I knew. It's like he keeps changing in front of me.
The crystal clear image of Tama that Kai has carried with him since that singular moment is blurry now, yet equally clear.
I see everything. All his moments at once. Joy, sadness, anger, heartbreak, stomachache. Everything from the handful of years that I knew him and the decades before we'd met. He's almost a stranger.
Kai is finally seeing the pipe and being told it isn't one. He's seeing the surreality of his friend, a person in superposition. Both the resemblance Kai has carried with him for years and someone entirely different. Since their death, this has been Tama to Kai, a person lying on a bed, dying. Yet the game is reminding him and us that there is no representative bond between this Tama and the rest of their life. It's as if Avowed has written in a cutesy script above the bed, this is not Tama. This is only possible in this realm of unconscious thought, though, because remember, it is in dream that men, at last reduced to silence, commune with the signification of things and allow themselves to be touched by enigmatic, insistent words that come from elsewhere. You spend most of the game unraveling Kai's pain, picking at his vagaries until you hear the tale of Tama. The quest, the game's textual component, is complete when you say goodbye to Tama in Chatterscarp. But Avowed inverts the expectations decades of RPGs have instilled in us. The quest is complete, but Kai's journey with his grief isn't yet. Not until he can fully internalize something we, as viewers of Magritte's painting, inherently know. He needs to say to himself, "My God, how simple-minded." The statement is perfectly true, since it is quite apparent that this moment representing Tama in a bed dying is not Tama themselves. Each of your companions have a moment like this in Sappadal's garden, and each of them are in the good conclusion of their plotlines. able to remove the veil from their eyes by pursuing something beyond the conscious. They find peace and the resolve required to see this quest through by experiencing the breakdown of what Foucault argues is a long-ruled principle of painting. Let a figure resemble an object, and that alone is enough to slip a statement, what you see is that. The grand conclusion of Avowed doesn't actually occur in the garden, and the game still has another hour or two in it after choosing to free or imprison Sopidal. You emerge from the garden outside Paradis, the bustling hub town and Aedyran foothold, under siege by a yet again resurrected Ludwin acting at the behest of Woedica.
But come, we have more pressing matters to attend to. The Steel Garrote have attacked Paradis. Inquisitor Ludwin has already joined the battle.
When you emerge, you are met by the remaining leaders of the Living Lands.
Mihala told us he went into some place called the Garden to seek a god?
When you didn't return, we took you for dead.
What did you see there? The god you felt in Nokutadek?
The origin of the Dream Scourge? It was the act of a god this whole time?
Everyone, please, please. We could get to the bottom of this if you would only let them speak.
You facilitate a dialogue between them, discussing the future of the Living Lands, who will rule, and what form it will take.
Give these people an ounce of agency, and there's no telling what they'll do. Well, what will the illustrious leaders of the Living Lands decide?
Though I'm hardly eager to work with any of you. I like the idea of twisting beneath Aedyr's boot heel even less.
If we walk away from a relationship with Aedyr, we're leaving a lot of trade on the table.
With the Envoy's support, we'd have a god in our pocket. What could the Empire do to stop us?
The politicking is riveting, and each of your choices throughout the game will be weighed, nudging the outcome for the Living Lands toward freedom and free expression, or towards fealty and serfdom under Aedyr. Your choices up to this point have almost all been framed within the context of the cities, the people, or the god in your head. But now, at the end of your quest, each choice is a point for or against assimilation. There's very little you can do in this moment to change the game's outcome.
Sopidal's power ravaged my people. I don't know that I can ever trust it.
When the Empire demands its tribute, from where will it come? Emerald Stair is not the breadbasket it was, and the dream of yore is now deferred. I must throw in with Thirdborn, who opened their doors to us in our time of need.
I do not trust your empire to show restraint in its control of the Living Lands.
Right. Might as well go ahead and start designing those rebel flags sooner rather than later.
It's mostly been a foregone conclusion since you left the underbelly of Solus Keep. Your mission to the Emperor is now done. The Dream Scourge cured, and the land is ripe for the taking. Your final choice is to help this fledgling nation diplomatically find a way forward by defeating Ludwin and the Steel Garrote in combat, or join the Inquisitor and destroy all hopes of diplomacy. And let's be real, this isn't a choice either, is it? It resembles a choice, but it never really was. Because the moment you commit to help Ludwin, your companions leave you, and you slaughter your way through Paradis's rebels alone.
After everything we've seen and done, what an awful way to end things between us.
I thought we were a crew, Envoy. But you're betraying everything we fought for.
I guess you made your choice, huh? Good working with you, Envoy.
After all the Steel Garrote have done, you choose them. It was nice knowing you, Envoy. But I refuse to be part of this.
If you freed Sopidal from their prison, Ludwin will attack you, calling you an abomination, an aberration with no home in the homogeneous empire of Aedyr. And a boss battle will begin. You will fight, and you will defeat her, and you will be sad. But if you imprison Sopidal, do as Woedica says, toe the line of empire from the beginning.
What an obedient start to a long and promising career.
Now, kneel before me. Receive your blessing. With this blade, I dub you traitor, unworthy of Wodika's accolade. In the end, the Imperial envoy died with honor, as their blood soaked into the soil of their homeland. Their soul departed for parts unknown, either to be imprisoned, reborn, or consumed by the gods. The Steel Garrote stood vigil over these lands for years to come. Under our watch, no child was born with the tainted mark of Sappadal.
The trick of Avowed isn't making these choices obvious. The trick is making you feel bad from start to finish. There is never a time that siding with the Empire feels good or right. Obsidian will make you squirm as you burn a town to the ground just because they believed something outlawed on the mainland. As much as Avowed resembles a role-playing game, this is not enough to make it so. As much as the open world graphical signifiers appear to be separate from the linear textual themes, that is not enough to make it so. And as much as the back of the box calls it an open world RPG, the game is not ruled by the text. Avowed is not an open world game. Avowed is a linear, surrealist game, each choice, each conversation, each open world quest path leading to the singular conclusion Obsidian laid out from the very beginning. True satisfaction lies with embracing the pure psychic automatism and rejecting the tyranny of empire, both physically and spiritually. The movement's aspirations toward the liberation of the mind, as well as the liberation of artistic...
I was born with a very strong feeling of need of freedom, liberty. And that means also with a very strong feeling of revolt. Revolt and revolution is not the same thing. But when you have this very strong feeling of this need of revolt, need of freedom, and you are born into a period where so many events invite you to get revolted and throw over what is going on in the world and be disgusted with it and so on, it is absolutely natural that the work you produce is a revolutionary work.
This video has taken me months to write, assemble, and edit, and in that time, Avowed's message has grown louder. The Trump administration continues its fascist forward march, an inward imperialism subjugating and oppressing the cities of people that never voted for this. People are disappeared overnight by masked goons that are, in their seemingly endless power to cause harm, the godlikes to their god king. Microsoft, the parent company of Obsidian, the developer of this video game, is currently being boycotted by the BDS movement for providing Azure cloud services to the IDF, which has used those services to spy on and carry out the genocide in Gaza. There is a through line here. For all the fantasy diseases and blue-skinned fish people, Obsidian managed to make a revolutionary, surrealist game from within the beast. And I think this is the true strength of any art. It comes from people, not corporations. And even in the worst place, people make incredible things. Avowed is not a video game. It's a piece of revolutionary art that simply resembles one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
What these people want is irrelevant when we can give them what they need to survive.
Well, any friend of Kai's is definitely a person.
Yes, there is a catch. It's also what you may call a large one.
Forgive me! Wodika!